What's up, YouTube? It's time for a review of the new Foo Fighters record, Concrete in Gold, out this past Friday, September 15th. The token rock band for every single mainstream music award show is back. You know, all the Grammys have to do is just throw in a Foo Fighters performance or a Dave Grohl appearance of any kind, and you know, all of a sudden, all notions of their total cluelessness about rock and metal they're instantly dispelled. Kidding aside though, Dave Grohl really has become like an ambassador for rock music. For many years now, he's been one of the faces of the genre, especially to outsiders and to people in the industry who don't generally listen to this type of music. Personally, as a rock fan, I couldn't ask for a better A-lister to represent the genre. Because the guy has just continually been all class. He has continually exuded just this undying passion for the genre and its history, a respect for his peers as well as his forefathers, and a certain integrity when it comes to just every time around, at least making genuine rock records. Because let's face it, it would be so easy for Dave Grohl or the Foo Fighters to just completely sell out and attempt some sort of pop crossover. I guarantee it would work. They could do like the Maroon 5 thing and have it just be one guy and a bunch of like hip hop beats behind him. Trust me, it could happen, so let's give them a little bit of credit. So whether or not you like the Foo Fighters music, you gotta respect and appreciate their importance when it comes to this genre. Especially because in the 21st century, it's often felt to me like loud guitar-based music has to be either metal or like some subgenre of indie rock. And there's just been this big gap where straight up rock and roll used to be a huge presence, at least when it comes to the mainstream. And you know, if you exclude the manufactured butt rock bands like Nickelback and Hinder, you find yourself like stepping back and going, where the hell's all the rock music? Like just the straight up rock music. Well, Foo Fighters have been an answer to that question for going on 2 decades now. They've been one of the primary answers to that question. And this new record, Concrete in Gold, is their 9th now, and I gotta say, more so than their last record, Sonic Highways, which I was kind of indifferent to, and the one before that, Wasting Light, which I did love. On Concrete in Gold, the Foo Fighters are really pushing themselves this time around. They try a lot of cool new things on here. Some different sounds, some experimentation with some different genres, some different instruments. In general, they just bring a bunch of fresh ingredients to their standard rock recipe. You wouldn't necessarily know it from the first couple of full songs, which are more par for the course. Like the song Run opens with this very non-threatening major chord progression, and Dave Grohl's singing a bit more gently over this part before it then launches into the more aggressive verses, which feature this simple, repetitive 2-note guitar riff and some distorted, screamed vocals from Grohl. All this shit is pretty familiar from past Foo Fighters material. Very effective though. I definitely like the tune. I like how the chorus marries this big melodic vocal with these somewhat riffy guitars underneath, and then we slip in some clean guitars for some added layering. It just creates such a full sound. Following track, Make It Right, is another instance of the Foos doing what you expect out of them, but doing it well. This one features this real slinky, bendy, 70s-inspired guitar riff, and Taylor Hawkins does this really cool, unconventional drum part underneath it, which just gives it that extra spice. So far, everything's been pretty typical. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing you wouldn't have foreseen. But as you progress deeper into the track list, a bunch of these songs really stand out as way more ambitious and unorthodox Foo Fighters material than we're used to hearing. I'll start with my favorite track on the album, Dirty Water, which is one of the best and most interesting Foo Fighters songs that I've ever heard. It starts off with this incredibly smooth, slightly exotic sound to it with some acoustic guitar underneath and these clean lead electric guitars on top that are responding to each other with these just gorgeous Latin flavored melodies. There's a bit of a call and response at first, and then they converge for a harmony, and it's just serene. And Dave Grohl matches this mood very well with his hypnotic vocal delivery. And then when the chorus comes around, there are these just intoxicating backing vocals from Inara George from the indie pop duo The Bird and the Bee. This song is just a totally different sound for this band. And then suddenly, just as you start to get comfortable, around the 2-minute 45-second mark, everything just kicks into high gear and it's a rock song. And I gotta say, when this transition happens, it was a very, very smart move to make this rock part a very similar chord progression as the beginning, softer part of the song. Because it just provides a nice continuity. It makes it feel like this heavy part was being built towards the whole time, as opposed to just feeling like two disparate ideas being smushed together, you know? Another song that I didn't see coming that I'm really, really enjoying is Happily Ever After. It's a real folky song. It's mostly made up of just acoustic guitar and Dave Grohl's somewhat depressing lyrics being delivered with just this total resignation in his voice. And all that's added is just a little bit of minimal drum parts, some tastefully incorporated strings, and some clean lead guitar that's kind of in the vein of like what John Mayer did on Paradise Valley. It's another unexpected but excellent song. These songs are the outliers, but elsewhere on this album, a lot of this experimentation that I've been referring to more boils down to just these tasteful embellishments. Whether it's the incorporation of some strings here and there on songs like The Sky's the Neighborhood and Happily Ever After, or it's that funky clavinet in the song La Di Da, which it doesn't play a huge role, but it just makes this song for me. It gives that main stop-start groove so much extra life. And you know, the clavinet played a pretty significant part in making Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti album as good as it was. So I'm thinking maybe that was where the inspiration came from for using it here. I haven't heard it used in like a rock song in a number of years. I can't remember the last modern instance where I heard a clavinet. It's fucking awesome in this song. Very rarely are these tunes just guitars, bass, drums, and vocals. There are all sorts of different instruments being added here and there. In addition to the clav and the strings, some saxophone shows up briefly. There's some crazy piano parts at the end of Sunday Rain. And look, I don't mean to make this album out as like this hugely indulgent affair, because it's not, but I'm telling you, that little extra something, it goes a long way. If more bands just took the time, and I'm not saying you should, everybody should be this huge ensemble of like random instruments, but if more bands took the time to just add things here and there, you'd be surprised the difference that it makes. Not to mention the guest musician list on this album is something else. I personally don't think it makes a big difference that, you know, Justin Timberlake is doing backing vocals on Make It Right, or Sean from Boyz II Men is on the title track, or apparently Paul McCartney is playing drums somewhere on Sunday Rain. Like, to me, it has no impact on these songs, but it is still cool just to have all these different people contributing to this album. What's cool though is the band are able to just strip away all this extra stuff for a song like The Line, which is ironically one of my favorite songs on the album. It's the Foo Fighters doing that Foo Fighters pop rock single thing that made them who they are. Their ability to write a single is still really impressive to me. And this song does have a lot of the makings of a classic Foo Fighters hit. It's got the uplifting, sort of butt rock, not quite almost chorus, but it's also got some unique features like that weird echo effect that happens in the main theme. Like, it sounds like planes whizzing by. That's fucking awesome. I actually have no idea how they achieve that sound. Is it a guitar? Is it just a studio effect? I actually don't know, but it's really cool. You also have a song like Arrows, which is pretty straightforward, pretty much just structured around one simple chorus, which that chorus is one of Dave Grohl's most passionate vocal performances on this album. So essentially what the Foo Fighters have given us with Concrete and Gold is just this wonderful mix of the expected and the unexpected. Unfortunately, I can't say I care too much for the closing title track. It's like the Foo Fighters doing their best Pink Floyd impression. I actually commend them on this because I think it's a really ballsy choice for a closer, and I'm glad they tried it out, but I just don't get much out of it as a fan. I get very bored quickly with this one, mostly because it's out there and it's spacey, but it's not dreamy or ethereal or otherworldly enough for me to just get wrapped up in it like I do with Floyd's music. It gets like halfway there. I'm also not really into the song Sunday Rain. I do think that Taylor Hawkins' breathy vocal performance on here is pretty cool, but I just think that extended break in the middle of the song is too much, because this song is already like a come down in and of itself. We don't need this extended intermission in the middle. Plus, to be honest, just the blues rock lead guitar style that is exhibited on this song, it's very 70s. It's just not a personal preference of mine. I've never enjoyed listening to this type of guitar playing. But seriously, I am liking this record way more than I expected to. Just looking back, like, I've been listening to this band now for probably 15, 16 years. Like, looking back on their catalog, this record is way more sophisticated and way more adventurous than like an In Your Honor or One by One. And unfortunately, I don't think they're gonna get enough credit here for trying some different shit this time around. Because come on, let's face it, this band could just pump out like 5 decent pop rock singles and a bunch of filler and call it a day. But they're clearly pushing themselves on here, and they should be commended for that. I love the sound of this record. I appreciate the diversity of the track list. And you know, if you're one of those people who kind of write the Foo Fighters off, this would be the record that you give a second look. You probably still won't be into most of it, because songs like Run and The Line and Arrows will still probably fit your preconceived notions, but I bet you'll be pleasantly surprised by their range on here. And we'll leave it at that. Concrete and Gold gets a 7 out of 10 from me. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, or shoot me a message so we can continue to talk music, and I'll see you guys soon.